What's up, folks? Casual Dad here with a surprise addition to our Warhammer Combat Cards Warlord guides. This weekend we've seen the release of Roboute Guilliman. Guilliman? Yeah, that's how I've always said it, always heard it in my head. I'm not going to mess with it too much. But the Primarch himself, the Supreme Commander of the Ultramarines, the first super heavy warlord that we've seen in the game. Now, one thing that surprised me about this is right out of the gate, I assumed that, I don't know why, but I assumed it was going to be something new, and what we're seeing is exactly what we get as a boss in some of the recurring campaigns that any older players will have seen many times. I don't know why I expected something new, but here he is. There's nothing at all wrong with this guy. He's pretty terrific. So, yeah. So, should be familiar, but we're going to go ahead and run through him this time from the perspective of a playable warlord. For starters, he comes in at a whopping 100 squad points, significantly higher than the next up, which I believe is 70. Yeah, and for that he has absolutely staggering stats, some okay traits with both Inspiring Presence and then Outflank. But it's really his ability that makes him kind of different here. Author of the Codex. All friendly cards increase their attack values by 25%, so it's a base, I believe that's rank 1 Inspiring Presence, just for having him as your warlord. And then you double ready at the end of the turn, which can be extremely powerful if you have multiple attack types in your deck. So I really like this. He just gives you a flat bonus for having him in the deck, which is amazing, especially because that does stack with Inspiring Presence. Let's double check that. Yeah, 20%. So it's actually slightly better than Inspiring Presence 2. It is Inspiring Presence 3 simply for having him as your warlord, which is fantastic. That also means that if he's level 1 and he's on the board, all of your cards have a base plus 45% to their stats, which is no joke. I don't believe that. No, it's just attack value. So it doesn't increase hit points, so we're not looking at another Greyfax here, but we are looking at something somewhat close, especially because Space Marine cards tend to start at relatively high stats. Now, he, of course, goes very, very well with your Ultramarines, your classic Ultramarines cards, most of whom are your more flexible Space Marines that tend to split things evenly between 2 to 3 attack stats. You probably would want to look for those sweet spot cards there, and we'll take a look in a second when I look at the campaign. The sweet spot cards that are decently cheap but are very efficient, so you get a lot of stats from them, and we'll look at some contenders for that in a second here. But yeah, let's look at him at max. We've seen him at max stats. Most of us have played against him. This is not including, I believe, all friendly cards. I believe that includes him. This doesn't include his base bonus or his Inspiring Presence, and that still is pretty phenomenal stats right off the bat. 500 hit points base. So this is someone you definitely want something beefy in the wings to take down. You don't want to go up against him solo. And he's obviously been included for the upcoming release of the 400-point deck mode, or the 400 deck point mode that's coming out. That's going to be a permanent fixture of the game. But I haven't seen anything saying that he isn't playable just in the base ladder. I haven't seen anything confirming that he is, but I'll assume that he is for the moment right now. And then, so let's look at him in the store, right? So at level 1 is what you tend to start with him at. He's really not very impressive and certainly not worth taking the 100 deck points for. So that's a bit of a challenge. So he hit the store at $20 for 1 copy, $50 for 3 copies, and then $100 for 6 copies. Now, all told, that gives you 10 copies, which if I did the math correctly, starts you at up to level 5, if you have the gold to level a legendary up to level 5, which is better. Still not that phenomenal for what you pay to bring him. So almost 350 hit points, 360 hit points. Good melee and ranged attacks and Inspiring Presence rank 3, but not probably worth the 100 points. And I did go ahead and mention the rank 10 because you can only buy each of these packs once, but you are able to buy all of them if you do choose to drop close to $200 for a digital card, which, whatever. But while we're waiting for that, if you do want to get just the single copy, you can do the $20 pack. I will say that these are quite pricey, but they do come out with a lot of gold and then also both a lot of plasma and then a lot of other additional cards as well, especially, of course, being this top one here has pretty impressive amount of resources. So if there's anything else in the store that's really higher plasma price that you really, really, really want right now, it's not completely out of the question, but it's a lot of money. So I have not picked up even 1 copy, so I won't be playing a game with him. But I do want to go ahead and jump to that campaign real quick so we can talk about some cards that go well with Guilliman, and then also take a look at the campaign itself. Jumping to that just real quick, we're looking at Apocalypse Campaign, the Second Tyrannic War. I am not terribly far on this. And this is one of the decks I've been running. This one obviously has a 0% bonus, so you don't get the free card as much. But this is one of the more powerful pieces I've run. Of course, Helbrecht is one of the best Space Marine Warlords at max level, so he's always one I reach for first. And I've just filled this with bulk. Just bulk. And I just got this guy, so being able to have him at max level is pretty fun. And with that Inspiring Presence max plus 142 base melee, he hits like a truck. And with almost 500 hit points in max regen, he takes a long time to remove, all of which is exactly what you want in a Helbrecht deck. He's got a high ranged attack, which is a bit of a bummer, so he can take out cards without getting your bonus. But, I mean, there's such beefy enemy cards in this, that's not a huge problem. But that is actually one of the reasons where Helbrecht is falling a little bit behind for me, because the decks you're playing against have a lot of bulk. This is clearly designed as a ramp up to kind of get people a little bit more ready for the super heavies that are becoming more common. But so the deck that's been most effective for me is this one right here. Ye old Akar himself, and then mostly Ultramarines. Actually, I think this is all Ultramarines, which I did for fun, just kind of to be thematic, and then found it was very effective. All of these guys have significant attack stats in different attack types. Several of them have big game hunter. They've got a couple outflanks, and I've got some readies in here as well, and an Inspiring Presence and a Medicae that really kind of help balance out, especially on top of Akaran's ability to keep them all alive just a little bit longer. So this has been really good. If you don't have Guilliman, this is a good choice, although you probably also may be missing this one. I got this in the Battle Pass. It's a really good Battle Pass. I was pretty pumped about it. So that's an easy way to get this guy in there. But if you don't want to, you can always find other ways to spend the points. But it is somewhat challenging with Akaran to fill up to that points level, just because, especially if you want the bonus. If you don't want the bonus, it's a piece of cake. Not even a problem. But if you don't want the bonus, or if you could shuffle this around. Like you take this guy out, 78 points, and you throw in this guy, you get 49 points. So you can filter in one or two cards that don't give you the bonus and do fairly well. But this is if you want as many as possible free copy or copies of the free card, and still want to be fairly competitive and do fairly well. You saw I had one strike so far, being about maybe 2/5 into the campaign, and it's been relatively easy. And I will say that the one strike I had wasn't with this deck. So this is a very effective deck if you have all the cards. And again, it's max level, so even if you have level 1 of these cards, not a problem. This guy has been kind of dunked on, is not very good, but I will say I love this dude. He can take out a regen, he can take out a shield, he can take out an injured card. He's been very effective in a max level deck, especially an Akaran deck, because he gets the extra time to do a bunch of extra damage. And his attack stats are low because he gets to hit with both of them when he drops. So he hits for 120 damage when he drops because of what, 5371? And then you get your follow-up attack, assuming it's your turn. So he's actually quite good. And his attack stats are low, again, because he gets a bunch of bonus attacks. I love this guy. I haven't put him in yet, but I love this guy in a Helbrecht deck because any other cards on the board that have that Mark of the Exemplar bonus attack damage will apply to him immediately when he is played. So they will increase, and especially if you have that stacked with Furious Inspiring Presence, this guy will just absolutely maul things on the board when he comes into play, which hopefully will give you an additional bonus of your Mark of the Exemplar. Really great. I like this one. The other deck that I've been playing with, just to go ahead and show it, is Azreal, who I like. I'm a little bit torn, actually, about who's better, Azreal or Helbrecht. The biggest reason being that obviously Helbrecht's ability is more powerful, but it is contingent on actually getting kills with melee weapons, which actually in this campaign has been somewhat challenging. Whereas Azreal, you can just rotate your attack types and get his bonus regardless. Now, the flip side, though, is that Azreal does require rotating your attack types, and the bonus only applies to cards that are on the board at the time. Whereas with Helbrecht, if you play a card, it immediately gets the bonus from any other Mark of the Exemplar auras that are on the board. So there's a little bit of give and take on that. He can, what is it? Yeah, Mark of the Exemplar. The thing is, though, if you play a card on your turn, it does get the benefit out of whatever attack type you rotate to with Azreal, so it is a little bit of a give or take on that. But personally, I like Azreal better because I like being able to vary my attack types a little bit, but I also do love the raw, unbridled aggression of Helbrecht. The one game I did lose was when I switched to Tolmaran just to try it. Went with all of the really gunny type cards, and I really did kind of focus on full bonus, so this isn't as good as it could be. I do think Tolmaran can be very good in this campaign, but I just did, again, trying for the max bonus just to play around with it. So I would focus more. Let me actually try again with Tolmaron and redeem the guy. I got a couple copies of the free card, not really concerned about getting more, so we're going to go ahead and drop those out. We're going to focus on our ranged. Ranged. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, it's real good. Okay. So of course we'll drop this guy in here. That big Ham Hunter's excellent. We'll drop this guy in here. I love being able to bring everything. It is very satisfying. Oh, yeah. It's very satisfying being able to bring just all of the heavy hitters at once. Yeah, love it. So 16 points. It's probably a taunt or a Medicae. Or a poison. Nah, we'll do this guy. Because that range debuff is nice too. So we'll go ahead and play this. And I'm going to play just one game because I've been talking for a while and I want to keep this short. But yeah, let's talk about Guilliman. And I actually really like that Roboute Guilliman because it's very historic sounding, but the ghoul also has the ghoul in it to kind of be a play on him coming back from the dead, which he just did. Yeah, I enjoy it. Ooh, we'll do this. Tricky going up against the Swarmlord. I will say this campaign has gotten me really, really excited about the upcoming max level Tyranids campaign for a couple reasons, but one of them being that in that I did get those Norn emissaries, Norn kings, and this guy. So I'm really excited to run some of this stuff at max level because I've been picking up a bunch of the new Tyranid cards, which I'm super pumped about, but all of them are very low level. So having the opportunity to see them at high level, even if it is in a soul-crushing, also playing against max level campaign, I'm still excited about. So that'll be a lot of fun. Oh God. Forgot about this. But going back to the Swarmlord, it is tough playing against the Swarmlord with Tolmaron, because you do rely so heavily on that single attack type, which is a nice kind of nod back to the guide there, that Tolmaron is exceptional, or that the Swarmlord is an exceptional counter to mono attack type decks, such as Tolmaron. I'm already kind of bleeding cards. I'm doing okay, but I'm losing cards a lot faster than I'm getting kills, and I am up against the Swarmlord, whose finale blow is going to be pretty devastating. Although that was kind of a gimme. I don't know why I did that, Swarmlord. That was kind of dumb. Didn't want to take the return fire, but that would have, I think, still wiped me had it been that, so. I'm going to rely on this guy's barrage, taking out this guy to the right. I hope he has enough hit points to do it. He will if I do that. Yes. This guy's been a lot of fun. That ranged ready is really, really nice. Comes with a lot of hit points and has a very high ranged attack. Plus, the big game hunters is clutch in this particular matchup. Ah, thing of beauty. Look at that. Now, still, I'm bleeding cards, so we'll see how this goes. But the cards I've lost so far have mostly been fairly squishy. And this one, I'm still not totally sold on this one. Seeing it at max level, like it's good, but eh. This guy, though, definitely sold on this thing. My God, this thing is terrifying, especially since its primary stat is fear. It really is sticky. It sticks on the board for a long time. You've seen it outlast several much more expensive cards. Okay, we're doing all right here. I'm going to try to keep this guy alive because he's very punchy, but then also so that I have something to knock off the Swarmlord's shields when it comes to that. Max level Medicae and things with this high base health. Ah, man, love it. That was an interesting choice, although that does take out my dear sweet. Oh, it didn't. Oh, man. Thank goodness for the Medicae. Okay, pro tip, bring Medicae. Sorry, it's not that funny. Still very... Oh, well, all right. That's what I get for bragging about it. All right, now this is a real bummer. So I still have cards alive, but it's going to be 3-on-3, and I'm up against a max level Swarmlord who will comfortably one-hit Tolmaron. Alright, so, gonna stick with it. Tolmaron, not the best pick for this campaign, because if you do hit a Swarmlord, he will make you very sad. He is gonna perform a little bit better against the Parasite, because he's not doing melee, where most of the other deck types do. Most of the other deck warlords do have some level of melee, but still. So let's go ahead and show off that Akar deck in honor of our Space Marines and our Ultramarines time, and then I will call it a video because I've been talking for quite a while. So we're again going for that max bonus Ultramarines Akar deck. And I do really like this one just for the flexibility, but Akaran's one of those cool Warlord. I really like Akaran's design. He is frustrating to play against sometimes, but I gotta shout out for him that he scales beautifully, where he's very, very good early on when you're starting out, of course, where he's supposed to be. But then also he's particularly good late game as well, because your cards hit so hard that getting that extra life from them is really, really good. And here, of course, I want to go ahead and do that Inspiring Presence with his double base attack. I would love to be able to take that thing down, but we'll deal with that in a minute. Really wish I had some enraged cards on the board when that guy's... Oh, man. All right. All right. This is exactly the same opponent, which I should have been prepared for. I already put down my Medicae, so let's see. Let's do that. Mutter, 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 mutter. Yeah, I really like this guy. There's probably something else I could do with 38 points, but I'm pretty happy using him. I was very excited to get him in a reward pack at some point. I don't remember what it was. It's probably a battle pass, but it would have been ages ago if it was a battle pass. And here again, you can be a little bit less cautious just because you get the extra life, but you do still need to be careful, especially matched up in a deck like this one. This is a devastating deck. Here we go. The opposing decks, that is. So this is the first time I've really felt that Apocalypse modifier really did make the difficulty much higher. In part because we're seeing the Tyranids showing off all of their new cards, and some of them are extremely powerful, and also work really well in conjunction with the existing cards. So like this one, of course, is a really great piece with both of these. But yeah, getting them to see them all kind of working together like the Tyranids Unleashed is a very satisfying thing, since the space bugs are my favorite piece. Oof, brutal. It's going to do Psychic. All right, so that'll save me. And now I am... So this is against the Swarmlord. Azreal would be really good because the option to alternate your attack types also helps counter the Swarmlord's ability. But... extremely challenging. Let's go ahead and do... What are we going to do? We'll do this. See if you Psychic me again. Now the downside of that is I'm now cheesing the AI where I put a very powerful Psyker in front of it, so he's a lot more likely to choose a different attack type, where I want him to keep doing Psychic so this guy can take him down. Ooh, that's a bummer. Boy, you took a beating, Tigurius. This is a tough matchup. I'm gonna go ahead and do it. We've got the combo of Outflank and that ready. I'm going to check and see what kind of range damage I can hit with the truck over here. Probably not enough still to take him down, so we'll take this guy down. Diminish that ranged a bit. I'm going to regret that because I'm going to end up poisoned. And rank 4 poison is real nasty. 16 wounds per turn. Ooh, that's nice. And there we go. That Akaran ability really coming in clutch to kind of save my pieces here. Light flickering over here. All right, let's send it. But I'm still bleeding cards. Akaran himself is extremely durable, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to take down the Swarmlord. I still have to... Oh, no, the Swarmlord's out. Okay, so that's good, because I've still got a bunch of hit points, and I've managed to outflank him enough that he is not holding the giant melee charge that he did last time. And I do still have some pretty potent cards on the board, plus I have ranged. So that is nice, where this deck is not as range focused as the Tolmaron deck, but does still have a lot of ranged cards, so I can really benefit from shooting the Swarmlord, which you always want to shoot the Swarmlord. Dun dun dun. Now I will say, so far, the difficulty level hasn't scaled very much, where this is still about on par with how challenging the second, maybe third match was, even though we're quite a ways into the campaign at this point. So if you're beating the first couple rounds, there's not a huge climb in difficulty for a while there, and since every card is max level, it's a lot of fun where you can just play whatever cards you've got and not worry about them being under-leveled. I really like the max level campaigns. That's a very cool way to play the game. Oh yeah? Okay. Bring it on. And I would say Akaran himself gets to make the death blow, but this guy hits too hard. But yeah, so it is funny because this also felt very much like a tabletop army. Not with a ton of infantry, unfortunately, but like a lot of the sort of mixed arms that you would see in an Ultramarines army, which is cool. I really like when they're able to make the competitive deck builds also line up with kind of the tabletop lore feel of it. That fluff really appeals to me. And you see that big bump on the free card there because I'm doing a very thematic deck. And that's it. We're going to call it pretty short. But yeah, just to recap. What do you think we know? If you're watching this to this far, you probably want to see one more game. So I'm going to go ahead and show my Azreal deck. Very similar with just a couple cards swapped out. But yeah, just so you can see it in case you don't have Azreal. I really, really like him as a Warlord, but mine is only level 2. So he's certainly not seeing any play in the ladder anytime soon. That said, he was one of my better performing Space Marine Warlords for a while there because my Space Marine cards are generally pretty good, and his ability really helps amp up your cards all game long. Against Gosar, this should be an easier matchup. I don't really have a ton of confidence in Gosar, especially at max level. He doesn't really gain much compared to a lot of the other Warlords. Because his stats don't scale very well. That is max level Gosar. There you go. 217 hit points. His melee attack is going to be much higher, but I mean, he's got 217 hit points. In a max level game, that's nothing. Azreal has 277. Okay, well, that's what I get for talking smack. But still, it's fairly low. Your Warlords themselves are not the ones who are going to win or lose through the game for the most part. It's usually their traits and abilities that are really going to do it. Now here I would really love to shoot him. And actually I want to because I want to alternate my attack types. And then you can see everybody gets that flat buff, and the higher their base attack stats, the higher the buff is. So this guy's now hitting for 126. Love it, love it. And there I didn't have to get a kill before I got the attack bonus. I just got it because I was already on the board and had used a different attack type last. So that is phenomenal that you get that kind of bonus there. Let's see, if I can take out both of these guys on the wings, I may go ahead and go melee, otherwise I'm going psychic. 167, and the math is a little tricky because it tells you what it would be before the bonus. So I'm actually going to do more than that. So there we go. And we're going to see the downside coming up here. As these boosted cards start to die, then the other cards that are going to hit the board will be unboosted until they make their first attack. And that's one downside. The good news, though, is they don't actually have to attack. They have to be on the board with an attack type made. So even if they don't have Psychic, they do still get the bonus. Excuse me. Ooh, gross. And that right there is where I really wish I was playing as Akar. Then again, he's only got one more bodyguard in the deck, and then it's all curtains there, so... I really like being able to put this guy in here. Doesn't have Psychic, okay. Because he is not 40 points. So anything that is under 40 points, but close to it with good attack stats that has Big Game Hunter is extremely valuable in this campaign and other ones at this level, just because they are able to punch opposing cards harder than they get punched back. And the Harridan just doesn't... it is interesting looking at this after doing my super heavy guide. The Harridan's really good, but it doesn't feel anywhere near as scary as the Hierophant Bio-Titan, which I do think is possibly the most powerful super heavy in the game. But that could be because I personally overvalue both Barrage and Poison, but the fact that it has both Barrage and Poison is insane. Let's see. Oh, bummer. We're actually going to give up on taking the bonus attack on that one, or the bonus stat, because I didn't want to lose both of these guys. We'll do this. I'm going to take a beating anyway, but it will keep my librarian alive. Ooh, nice. And best part about that is that guy's got the psionic blast. So he's going to clear this left lane and let me take a nice safe shot in the middle there. Where I can do melee. Probably lose my last shield. Yep. Which I may regret. Ooh, or I might just kill that thing outright. No. So he's comfortably going to... Well, actually, he's not. Oh, Inspiring Presence. Yes, he is. He's going to kill this guy on the left, but it doesn't matter. Or on the right. Ooh, Gosar's outflank. But even then, like he's got inspiring presence. Had been able to charge up on the game. Like, yeah, okay, I see you're higher level than your usual level, but still, I'm not impressed. Whereas Azreal's going to hit the board, outflank him. Already hit for 138 melee, so he's actually higher melee than this. Oh no, okay, he's not higher, but it's still good. And then I'm going to shoot him, and my range damage will be in the 180 or so. 198, good God. Yeah, and this guy staying on the board became an absolute monster. So I really like Azreal's ability. It's cool the way it can keep triggering throughout the game, and can trigger outside of melee kills, which I really appreciate as well. I'm curious about this card. Looking at it, I'm kind of like, meh. I really like the Crimson Fists. I don't love the beaky look, and his stat line is fine. For 12 points, that's a lot of hit points and a lot of range damage, which is good, but that's, max level, so. I'm curious to see this guy come up a lot. I need to see him in the general card pool to kind of determine better, but just kind of a cool nostalgia piece. I've got some copies, but I'm not too concerned about it. Onwards. So yeah, that was it. I have talked a lot. This is a lot longer than I intended, so I'm going to go ahead and stop. But I appreciate the time. And if you do want to see more of things like this, just let me know. Until next time.